I don't even know where to start after what we just saw at Martinsville. Seriously, this weekend had two completely different kinds of chaos, and both of them are going to stick with NASCAR fans for a long time. One of them, pure frustration, the kind that makes you sit there staring at your screen like, what just happened? The other, that emotional goosebumps type moment that reminds you exactly why we love this sport in the first place. And the craziest part? Both of these stories unfolded on the same track, in the same race, just hours apart. And they could not feel more different. If you are a real NASCAR fan, you already know days like this can shift momentum, change seasons, and even redefine how we look at certain drivers moving forward. So, yeah, we got to talk about this. And hey, before we dive in, if you are new here, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. This channel is just getting started. We are pushing for 1,000 subs, and if you live and breathe NASCAR like we do every single week, you are definitely in the right place. Let's get into it, because the first story out of Martinsville is honestly one of the most confusing and aggressive moments we have seen in a while. It all went down late in the race at Martinsville Speedway on lap 324. We had a restart. Tempers already high like they always are at this short track, and then suddenly, Bubba Wallace just absolutely shoves Carson Hocevar heading into turn 3. And I am not talking about a normal bump and run. I am talking multiple hits. Wallace gets into the back of Hocevar's number 77 Chevrolet once, then again, and then just drives straight through him. Next thing you know, the whole field behind them has nowhere to go. Massive pileup, cars stacking up down the front stretch, a huge chunk of the NASCAR Cup Series field taken out in seconds. And here is the thing that has fans scratching their heads. When you look at the replay, Hocevar did not really do anything that screamed retaliation-worthy. Yeah, they went 3 wide earlier into turn 1, and Wallace clearly did not like that. But this felt like a huge escalation. Even Wallace admitted it afterward in his interview with Jamie Little on Fox Sports. He said, "I misjudged. I did not mean to turn him." He mentioned that earlier moment going 3 wide, but still he owned that he got it wrong in the center of the corner, but the damage was already done. Hocevar somehow salvaged a 15th place finish, which is honestly impressive considering he got hit like that. Meanwhile, Wallace, total disaster. Wrecked car done for the day, finishes 36th with a DNF. And this is where it really starts to hurt if you are a Wallace fan. That is now back-to-back finishes of 34th or worse. Just a couple weeks ago, he was sitting second in the point standings. Now he leaves Martinsville all the way down in 11th. That is not just a bad day. That is a massive momentum swing early in the 2026 season. After the race, you could hear the frustration in his voice. He talked about how much expectation they had coming into one of his favorite tracks with Hardys on the car, and how they just did not show up when it mattered on Sunday, even though they can look fast in practice. And honestly, that part hits because we have seen that pattern before. Speed early in the weekend, but it just does not translate when the race gets real. The good news for Wallace, the timing. The Easter break is coming up, and that might be exactly what this team needs to reset mentally before heading to Bristol Motor Speedway on April 12th. But still, that moment with Hocevar is going to be talked about all week, and I would not be surprised if drivers remember that next time they are around the 23 car. Now, let's flip the page, because on the complete opposite end of the emotional spectrum, we got something special. Chase Elliott finally got it done. First win of the season, number 22 in his career, and it did not come easy. This was a straight-up strategy masterclass by crew chief Alan Gustafson and Hendrick Motorsports. For most of the race, Elliott was not even dominating. He started 10th and spent a lot of time stuck outside the top 5. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin was putting on a clinic, started on the pole, and led 292 of the first 317 laps. It looked like Hamlin's race to lose, but then everything changed on lap 312. Gustin makes the call to pit earlier than the other contenders. A gamble. The kind of call that fans love when it works and question like crazy when it does not. And this time, it worked perfectly. When the caution came out, Elliott suddenly had track position. Then, on the restart, Ross Chastain briefly took the lead by staying out, but Elliott quickly got around him and never looked back. He led the final 69 laps and held off Hamlin by 0.565 seconds. That is Martinsville. That is pressure. Behind them, you had Joey Logano finishing third, followed by Ty Gibbs and William Byron rounding out the top five. And man, you could feel what this meant to Elliott. This is not just another win. This is the kind of win that validates everything, especially with how often Gustafson's strategy calls get second-guessed by fans. Even Rick Hendrick called Gustafson that morning, reminding him that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And that mindset paid off. Elliott even talked about how this win came exactly 11 years after his Cup Series debut back in March 29, 2015, where he finished 38th in a race that was won by Hamlin. Now, look at that full circle moment, beating Hamlin at the same track. That is NASCAR storytelling right there. And there is even more going on behind the scenes. Tyler Reich is having a huge start to the season in a contract year with 23X Racing, and Hamlin already hinted they are working on locking him into a new deal soon. Plus, NASCAR dropped the list of 15 nominees for the 2027 Hall of Fame class, including names like Kevin Harvick, Jeff Burton, and Greg Biffle. So, yeah, the future and the legacy of the sport are both in the spotlight right now. And now, everything pauses for Easter before we head to Bristol, where Kyle Larson has absolutely dominated lately, including leading 411 of 500 laps there last April. So yeah, when you step back and look at it all, one race gave us chaos, frustration, and big consequences for a driver trying to hold on to momentum. And at the same time, it gave us a perfectly executed win that could kickstart a championship run. That is NASCAR. That is why we watch every single week. Now, I want to hear from you. What did you think about Bubba Wallace's move on Carson Hoare? And did Chase Elliott just change the entire tone of his season with this win? If you enjoyed this, drop a like, jump into the comments, and let's talk about it. And do not forget, this is Revived Wheels. We are just getting started chasing that 1,000 subscriber mark. So, if you are into real, honest NASCAR talk like this, hit that subscribe button and be part of it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.